Well, anyhow, I don't know how qualified I am for your questions here, but I'm somewhat flattered.
Oh, of course. I have one question for you, actually. It's pretty up to interpretation. What's your name?
Vanessa,
Vanessa. And where are you from?
Mexico City.
Mexico City. Drake. Where are you from?
Tampa, Florida.
I'm from France and my name is Pierre.
I'm Nanako from Japan.
And I'm from London, Ontario, Canada. And
I'm Cal.
I'm Skyla. My name is Ashley. I'm from Taiwan.
Kennedy, and we're from Wisconsin. I'm Annie.
I'm from Ukraine. My name's Robert. I'm from Colorado.
My name's Stephanie and I'm from Los Angeles.
I'm Emily, and I'm from Germany.
I am Howie, and I am from South Carolina. So,
Question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
George Coker, wake you up, baby.
poetry.
Feel like you're alive.
It's a hard question. Yeah.
It means beauty. It means love. It means sensations. It means I don't know. It means a lot of things.
Is what does poetry mean to you?
Poetry is a form of expression, and it can come in many forms.
Thank you.
No.
My question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
It is many different types of forms of expression of emotions through either word or song. It can be spoken or sung, it can be written, but to me mostly it's an expression of emotion.
So what does poetry mean to you?
Oh my God.
Put me on the spot.
Listen, poetry means a lot. It's just the level of expression, through poetry. Like, sometimes people can't really hold a conversation, but when they take the time and put it together in poetry, it just means so much.
And then my question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
Oh, interesting. I think poetry is just like a reflection of how you're feeling, and it's in a much prettier way than just like writing. It's actually got something behind it, and it's sometimes a little more condensed and concise, which I think can be beautiful.
To me, it means I don't know, something. I guess that I can put my try to put my feelings down, just a way to get it out. I guess. I think it's to realize the bigger picture of some things by relating it to something else. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. So my question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
Poetry.
Yes.
A lot, because in France we like poetry.
Yeah.
So a lot of when I was in the small classes, we learned by heart, some poems. So it reminds me when I was a young lad. not very much now, but it reminds me when I was really young. So, it's also for me a sort of how you are able to master your language. I think it's very important. You play with the words.
Yeah.
And it's a way of mastering the language. It can be in English, it can be in French, it can be in Italian. It's the way of mastering the language.
Thank you very much. And then my question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
Kind of hard question. When I hear the word poetry, I always remember my memories with my parents and my grandparents. So it's a good way to connect people by portraying the beautiful sceneries and those kind of stuff. So yeah, that's
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What does poetry mean to you?
Poetry.
I thought poetry was reading. I always thought poetry was dumb, and you could just write it in a paragraph instead of as a poem.
I agree. I thought a similar thing, but there's a thing that they do in New York in Washington Square Park, where this guy is called the Park Poet, and you can talk to him for like 10 minutes, and he'll write a poem for you. And we did that about us like moving out and changing our lives. Like I just graduated college, she's about to move out, and it was really a beautiful poem. So I think it changed my perspective on that, and especially because we only talked to the guy for like 10 minutes and he wrote a beautiful thing about both of our lives.
What does poetry mean to you?
Poetry?
Poetry.
Shevchenko.
What does that mean?
It's famous Ukrainian poetry. It's poetry. Yeah, it's about poem. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's very famous Ukrainian poem.
What does poetry mean to you?
Maya Angelou.
Michelangelo?
Maya Angelou.
Why is that?
That's just the first name that came to thought.
Okay, and then my question for you is, what does poetry mean to you?
Poetry means like, connecting words with each other and make them sound like music to people, in my opinion. You know, poetry are words that are just like, I don't know, you know? Yeah, and I don't know. When I think of poetry, I think of my German lessons in school, you know? I don't really have that much to do.
What does poetry mean to you?
You know, you can find a lot of meaningful things in poetry. You can put a lot of perspective into it and a lot of meaning, especially with songs. You know, I find myself connecting to poetry mostly through songs and music. And yeah, man, you can pretty much express your feelings and everything through poetry. So it's a great way to express your, your deepest understandings of life.
Well, what does poetry mean to me? I don't have to go on length about it.
Go on for however long you want.
Well, for me, poems celebrate beauty and memories. It celebrates creation, feelings, rebirth. And they do it in what I call a succinct manner.
How so?
And how so? Okay, so here is Keats, John Keats, Keats.
Yes.
And John Keats says, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. Now, I like that. I thought about, and I say that now, for instance, next door neighbor took a picture of one of my flowers this summer, and one of her butterflies, I say her butterflies because she has plants that attract them, lighted on this plant that I had. I forgot the name of the flower, actually. But anyhow, she took a photograph of it, and it was just beautiful.
Wow.
And so I sent back, this quote, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. And it was beautiful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do you think of that? But it's come to me many, many times as life has gone on. You look at something and it is lovely. And, and it's not just something to look at, it's music,
Yeah.
And I think of some of the pieces that you're familiar with, but Rachmaninoff's 19th, is it a sonata? I think it is 19th, Opus 19. Well, that thing is so emotional to me that I hardly dare play it sometimes because the melody will last with me for a whole week.
Wow.
So anyhow, that's the, auditory part.